In the future, all edible plant and animal has been destroyed due to a failed human experiment, pushing humanity to the brink of extinction. The world now consists of barren lands, strange plants, and dangerous creatures. The wealthy have gathered and established a city called citadels for development, while the poor outside can only struggle to survive in desolate areas. Vesper, a clever girl, was with a robot digging a type of plant beneath the mud. Later, she returned home and used the plants she found to feed the worms, because they were her only source of food. Vesper took care of her paralyzed father alone, and the robot was how her father communicated with her. She ground the worms and poured them into his stomach through a tube. In her free time, she went to the laboratory to use the worms for experiments, hoping to create a new creature that could save the world. Vesper returned home, but before entering, she noticed that someone had broken in. They had destroyed her power generator, and the bacteria that generated electricity had been stolen, rendering the machine her father relied on for survival inactive. With no electricity, the robot also ceased to. Out of options, Vesper had no choice but to seek help from her uncle, Jonas. He managed an orphanage, but in reality, he was taking the blood of the children and selling it to the citadels to obtain seeds. Vesper decided to sell her blood to get the bacteria. However, after having her blood, Jonas told her she would have to wait for 2 days to receive the bacteria. Since her father didn't have that much time, she wanted to reclaim her blood, but Jonas stopped her and threw her out. Not wanting to see her father die, she daringly infiltrated the place. Fortunately, a kind boy opened the door for Vesper. She quickly stole the bacteria and also took some citadel seeds before rushing back home. On her way back, she saw a citadel ship, but she ignored it and returned just in time to save her father's life. The next day, Vesper wanted to take the seeds to the laboratory to fertile them. However, her father believed it was futile because the citadel had coded these seeds to produce only one harvest. He wanted her to return them, but Vesper refused. Angry, she ran out of the house and accidentally saw a blonde woman unconscious and being blood-sucked by flesh-eating plants. Vesper hurried to remove the tendrils and brought the woman home, carefully bandaging her wounds with a special plant created by herself. Her father warned Vesper not to save the girl to avoid trouble, since she belonged to the citadel, but Vesper refused. But at that moment, the woman suddenly woke up, interrupting the conversation. She introduced herself as Camellia, explaining that she was traveling with her father on a ship that had accidentally crashed. Camellia asked Vesper for help in finding her father, and Vesper agreed to search for him the next morning. Vesper prepared dinner for Camellia, but upon seeing the wriggling worms in the food, she couldn't bring herself to eat. Curious, Camellia questioned why the robot could think and talk. It turned out that Vesper's father had served in the Citadel army but was severely injured, leaving him paralyzed. The robot was a gift from the Citadel to help him travel and communicate with his daughter. Suddenly, Vesper's father began to convulse uncontrollably, but she couldn't do anything to help her father. Camellia immediately approached and transmitted something to him, miraculously returning him to normal. This incident fueled Vesper's belief in the mysterious abilities of those at the Citadel. Early the next morning, Vesper and the robot set out to find Camelia's father. It didn't take long for her to locate the crashed ship. She looked through the door and saw a man inside, but at that moment, Jonas and his associates appeared. Jonas opened the ship's door, revealing the wounded man inside who was pleading for help. However, Jonas harbored a strong dislike for Citadel people and decided to kill him. Vesper rushed to intervene, but she couldn't do anything. Suddenly, Jonas noticed a shawl belonging to a woman and deduced that there was another person, sending his henchmen to search for her. Vesper's father wanted her to contact the Citadel as soon as possible so they could come and take Camellia away before Jonas discovered her. Not wanting to disappoint Camellia, Vesper lied when she returned home, saying that she hadn't found the crashed ship yet and promised to take her the next morning. Vesper checked Camelia's wound and found that it had completely healed, leaving Camellia astonished at Vesper's abilities. She then led Camellia to her secret garden, where she had created these beautiful and miraculous plants by coating the cells of other plants. Amazed by Vesper's talent, Camellia revealed that her father was the chief synthetic biologist of the Citadel and he would bring Vesper into the citadel to work if he saw this garden. Vesper felt disappointed upon hearing this. Both returned home, and Vesper attentively bandaged her father's wounds while chatting with Camellia. During their conversation, Camellia learned that Vesper's mother had left a year ago to join a group of people called pilgrims. They were masked individuals who collected junk and dragged it away. Both sat down, and Camellia shared with Vesper the habits of various animals. Because those outside the citadel had never seen any animals, they became closer through these stories. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Vesper asked Camellia why the citadel didn't allow outsiders in for food and work. It turned out that the citadel didn't trust outsiders and had created jugs, artificial humans designed solely to serve as slave labor and extremely loyal to their masters. The next day, Vesper sneaked into Jonas's farm to send a distress signal to the citadel to help Camellia. The robot went in first to scout, but it didn't return. Vesper took the risk to infiltrate and discovered that Jonas had captured the robot and was dismantling it. Jonas also found out that Vesper had stolen seeds before and demanded that she work for him to repay the debt. Seizing the moment when Jonas was distracted, Vesper grabbed the robot and ran, but for some reason, the robot couldn't fly anymore. Suddenly, she saw the rotted body of the boy who used to help her. At this time, Jonas ordered his men to chase after Vesper. She hurriedly ran while clutching the robot, but one of them caught her. Vesper struggled desperately to escape, but in the end, she was marked with the symbol of slavery on her hand by them. Vesper returned home, attempting to repair the robot but failed, leaving her feeling deeply saddened. Seeing her distress, Camellia came to comfort her, promising to ask her father to fix the robot. However, Vesper finally revealed the truth about her father's death. Afterward, Vesper led Camellia to find her father's body. Camellia rushed to her father's side, embracing the lifeless form and crying. Vesper tried to pull Camellia out of the water and comfort her, but accidentally discovered a hole at the back of Camelia's neck. It turns out Camellia was also a jug created by her father, but uniquely intelligent and capable of independent thought. Creating a sapient jug was a serious offense, so her father had smuggled her out of the citadel. Camelia's promise to help Vesper get inside the citadel was a lie. Furious and feeling deceived, Vesper vented her anger on Camellia. In the end, both returned home. Vesper successfully repaired the robot, restoring communication with her father. Her father advised her to escape quickly because she now bore the symbol of a slave. At this point, Camellia was in deep distress, as her owner was no longer alive, and she contemplated suicide with a knife. Fortunately, she missed, and Vesper intervened in time. Vesper then bandaged Camelia's wound and encouraged her to keep living. That night, Vesper took samples from Camelia's body for research, but they were encrypted. Only Camelia's father could unlock them. At that moment, Camellia picked up the musical instrument and began to play a tune, as her father used to enjoy listening to her play during experiments. Unexpectedly, the cell gene sequence began to change in response to Camelia's tune. It turns out that this was the key to unlocking the genetic code. Camellia proceeded to experiment with the citadel seeds, and unexpectedly, they merged with her sample. Vesper discovered a way to unlock the citadel seeds, allowing her to make them fertile so they would never starve again. This technology could provide her a ticket to the citadel, but Vesper didn't want to leave her father behind. She returned to the lab to collect more samples, but just as she left, Jonas arrived, coincidentally, while Camellia was there. Suspicious of Camelia's true identity, Jonas restrained her. He discovered the hole at the back of Camelia's neck, realizing she was a jug. However, he had never encountered a jug as intelligent as her and wanted to possess her. He inserted his finger into the hole, making Camellia obedient. Fortunately, Vesper returned in time to stop him. Together, they attacked and subdued him by stabbing his hand with a knife. Surprisingly, Vesper not only released him, but also treated his injuries. Enraged, Jonas returned home and immediately contacted the Citadel, revealing Camelia's location to claim the reward. Vesper continued unlocking more Citadel seeds when suddenly a large mass of yellow bacteria emerged from the door crack, slowly spreading across the floor. Vesper tried to stop them with a broom, but it was futile. As they continued to expand, both had to climb onto the table to avoid the bacteria. At a crucial moment, the bacteria stopped spreading and transformed into yellow smoke. They covered their mouths and noses to avoid inhaling toxic fumes. Vesper's father knew that Citadel soldiers were approaching, realizing there was no time left. He requested Vesper to take the seeds and head south for safety. Vesper didn't agree because she didn't want to leave her father behind, but after hearing her father's advice, she had to agree with tears in her eyes. The soldiers arrived at the village and killed Jonas immediately. Soon after, they found Vesper's house. Her father decided to sacrifice his life by triggering an explosion to buy time for Vesper. And from a distance, Vesper could only watch her father die in agony. She cried out, and Camellia tried to comfort her, but Vesper's cries attracted the attention of the soldiers. Both immediately fled and hid in a field of red grass. The soldiers, unaware of the danger posed by the creatures in the area, were inadvertently killed by fireflies in the red grass. Both of them slowly crawled to avoid the remaining soldiers, but a strange flower appeared right where Vesper was. It emitted a sound that attracted the attention of the soldier. Camellia was willing to sacrifice herself to protect Vesper, but Vesper acted quickly, throwing mud onto the soldier's mask, grabbing his gun and throwing it into the red grass. Fireflies rushed out and killed the soldier instantly. They continued to escape, but Camellia suddenly stopped, knowing that if she didn't return to the Citadel, the soldiers would continue to hunt them. She insisted that Vesper go alone, but Vesper refused, continually pulling Camellia along. With no other choice, Camellia used her strength to make Vesper faint. She then followed the soldiers back to the Citadel. Upon waking up, Vesper returned to her house, now just a pile of ashes. She planted a few seeds in the ground and headed south as her father instructed. Seeing the surviving slaves of Jonas, she let them join her. It turned out the place her father mentioned was the gathering point of the pilgrims. They used the scraps they collected to build a majestic tower. Vesper clung to wooden frames to climb to the top. From there, she saw the entire massive modern citadel. Vesper took the unlocked seeds and scattered them in the wind, hoping for a brighter future for the land. This is the end of the movie. If you enjoy it, please like and subscribe to support my channel. Thanks for watching.